production is brought to you by DHBN, WTHC Radio, and Stoner Records.
All right. Hey, everybody. How's it going? How's it going this week?
Morning, everybody.
Morning, Jimmy.
Morning, Mucho. How you doing today?
Oh, doing pretty well. Doing pretty well.
How was your week?
It was busy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Same.
Yeah, I'm glad for the weekend. Well, thankful for the weekend.
Every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yes. How's your clones doing? Still hanging in there?
They're growing,
Oh, good. Excellent.
so they're doing. I just gave them their first dose of nutrients last week. I'm gonna give them some more today. I'm running low, so I have to make some. So
There
it's a
you
good thing
go.
It's a good thing today is happening.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's all about the soil. Yeah. It's going to be a cool show today. I did a little deep dive, into the biology of the soil, and it's really really cool. And I suggest everyone do a deep dive in it. We're just going to talk about it a little bit today. What are the basic nutrients that cannabis plants need to grow? Well, they need the NPK, they need the nitrogen, they need potassium, and they need the potash.
What's
And
potash?
um, I'm drawing. If you hadn't asked me, I'm drawing a damn blank.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, bro.
It's like, oh, deer in the headlight moment. Deer in the headlight moment.
That happens to me too. I feel it.
Yep, yep. NPK, but I look at it as the roots, shoots, and fruits.
Roots,
Roots,
shoots, and fruits.
yep. Nitrogen helps your roots. Potassium or the phosphorus helps your shoots, and potash helps the fruits. Macronutrients and micronutrients. I'm glad you said that. That's kind of a That's kind of a nerdy question to ask, and I'm glad because I was going to try to work that into my conversation. It's actually clumps, it's nutrients that clump together. Micronutrients are clusters of nutrients that have joined together in small. Um, let's think on an atomic level here, like in small little golf balls. They say on an atomic level. And these nutrients have all bound together in these little tiny little clusters. That is a micronutrient. Okay. uh, when they cluster together like that, they create little air pockets, and that's for healthy soil. You need air in the soil. Okay. And when micronutrients, when they get together, they create air pockets. Instead of everybody living out here, they all live together. Okay. Macronutrients is when all these little micronutrient balls, there's a little community of them living together, they all decide to join together. Okay, so you've got a bigger area of nutrients. That's a macronutrient. And the more macronutrients you have, of course, the more space you have for air. And we're talking about on a atomic level down here. Okay, and air is needed for healthy soil. So when you're talking about micronutrients and macronutrients, that's where um, number one, your plant can only feed through the tips of its roots. Okay, you can have all the nutrients you want in your soil. You can have it 100% saturated, but unless those nutrients are on the very tips of those little roots and rootlets, your plant's not eating it. Okay. The only place it can uptake is through the very tips.
That's why when you grow hydro, it works better because you get the roots are in the water and the
Yes,
nutrients are in the water, so
in the
they're
water.
constantly touching the nutrients.
Exactly. Um, That's where your healthy living soil will come into play. Okay. Um, in order to have a good healthy ecosystem, basically you need a good ecosystem in your soil. If you're doing that, you need to have mycorrhiza, which is like a fungus, because you need um, fungus, you need bacteria, you need nematodes, and what else do you need?
When he says bacteria, it's certain bacteria. It's not just any bacteria.
It's it's beneficial. It's aerobic bacteria, not anaerobic. You want
Right.
oxygen friendly bacteria. Okay, that's what you're going to want. And anaerobic is bad. Anaerobic is stinky. Um,
Kill your plants.
yeah, yeah, it will kill your plants. It's no good. Aerobic will just smell like dirt. It will smell healthy. It'll smell like a nice. When you go out into the forest and you got all these giant trees. They're living out here. They're doing their thing. Hang on one second, you guys.
He wants to let the dog out. um, but yeah, what he's saying is the dirt that's gonna be in the woods, like under trees, and like where there's a lot of leaves. Leaves are really good for like compost. Like you cut them up, grind them up real good. Um,
Sorry about that. I was having a little dog emergency out there, so
told you.
it happens. It happens. All right. Where was I? Anaerobic. But yeah, you need a good, healthy ecosystem within your soil. You go into the forest, you see all these trees. They've been living there for hundreds and hundreds of years. Nobody's going out there. Nobody's fertilizing any of these plants. It's happening naturally. Okay.
That's why I just discussed the leaves. Like
Yeah,
when
the soil is naturally breaking down. It's feeding itself. It is a natural process. Okay. And when we plow or we till our gardens or we use our gardens, uh, you use up those nutrients. Okay. And if you're not replacing them, then you're going to have not such great results. Um, if you break the chain, if you break that chain within the soil, you can fix it really easily. Absolutely can. Absolutely. It'll only take maybe a month to 2 months to get your soil living again properly, just living. But that's where the bacteria, you need a good, healthy source of bacteria to help eat like the plant matter. Like in the forest, the leaves fall, they decompose, the bacteria start to eat them. Okay. Once the bacteria start to eat it, then the mycelium moves in. Okay. The white mycelium, and it breaks it down further. And
that
then the
stuff is great
nematodes
for your plants.
do what?
White mycelia is great for your plants.
It is absolutely wonderful for your plants. Okay. And then you get the little bugs and the nematodes and things like that. They come in, and guess what they eat? They like to eat the little white strings, the little white mycelia. That's what they eat. Okay. And then when they eat it, they poop that out. Okay. And that's what your plants love, that shit. Okay. And the mycelia will just keep rebuilding and makes more mycelia. The bugs come in and eat it. It's a system. It's a system. And that's called living soil. And that's what you want. Because if your soil is healthy, you won't need pesticides. If your soil is healthy, you won't need herbicides. Weeds will only grow in places that are in dire need of being fixed. In
I had
forest.
last year. I had a problem with the little gnat flies. Neem
Mhm.
oil got rid of them, but like it's just the fact that they showed up.
Yes.
Like that was kind of bothersome to me. But
Mhm. Yeah, if your soil is healthy, your plant is gonna be more resistant to bugs, more resistant to disease. Good morning, Lisa. Um,
Good
your
morning,
plant,
Lisa.
your plants are going to be more resistant to bugs, to disease, to drought. How do phosphorus and potassium help during the flowering stage? Um, well, the middle number, the phosphorus, uh, is really good for that. It helps for your bud sets. It helps to improve the it's basically what your plant requires at that time for flowering. Up until that point, it needs nitrogen. It needs all the nitrogen it can get because it's growing. It's grow, grow, grow. Okay. Good morning, beautiful class and sass boutique. Good morning.
Good morning
Um,
to you.
um, Basically, the middle number is for your flowers. Okay. It helps to produce flowers. It makes if you were to put a phosphorus rich fertilizer on your roses, you're going to have more blooms than you could ever think. It helps for bud sets. Okay. Um, and that basically, when you're growing your pot, the more bud sets you got, the more bud you got. Period. You know.
You do you do not need wheat cannabis specific nutrients. You do not need the nutrients that you're buying in the store when you go like Fox Farms or what's the other one? Nectar of the Gods is one that there's a store in Cleveland, they sell it. It's supposed to be amazing. It's supposed to have great yields. I've never used it,
Well,
but
it-
it's you can give it to your actual garden. Like it's not specific to anything.
yeah,
Like it's just plant food.
it's plant food. It's just a specific line of plant food. Um, like I said, if you could get yourself into the notion of having a living soil, um, then basically, like myself, I don't go out and buy all the expensive, nutrient lines. I just bought my nutrients for this year, and it's probably going to last me for the next 2 years. I got 5 pounds of Peruvian bat guano. I
You
got
got
five
that's a lot of
pounds.
bad shit.
I got 5 pounds of seabird guano. I got a gallon of kelp extract, and I got a 2 pound bag of it's Myco Bliss. It's mycorrhiza powder, which, like I said, we're talking about today. The mycorrhiza powder. If you want to take your grow, if you've never grown and you want to knock it out of the park the first time, when you go to your grow stores up there by the register, you see these little packs. They look like toothpaste, except for end to end, and it says Myco on it. Myco powder, mycorrhiza. Buy one. Sprinkle it directly on your roots, or when you transplant, you put it in the hole, and then you put your plant right on it to where those can touch the roots. Okay, it's no, no, it does not give no, it does not give it wings. If you want to perk your plant up, make yourself a little bit of like some earthworm casting tea, or give it a foliar feeding with some kelp extract. Foliar feeding will is like getting a vitamin shot for your plant. It is.
Hmm.
But yeah, all I do is make teas.
You'll it,
You'll burn your plant to hell, and it'll
yeah.
never be. It'll taste
Um,
like.
if you're gonna use Miracle Grow, like I don't suggest using like the stuff you use in your flower garden. I suggest using the stuff that's good for fruits and vegetables. If you're looking just to grow some weed in a cheap, you got cheap seeds, you just want to grow like two plants. Miracle Grow does a decent job, but you're not going to get the yield and the size buds and the quality that you would get if you were using like terp enhancers or molasses. Oh, sorry, this molasses is Mucho likes to use.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like I'm gonna do that actually this year because it's cheaper. It's way cheaper than the shit that I bought. That shit was $20 for a little jug, and it's almost gone.
Oh, how does good question. How do pH levels affect the nutrient absorption? Well, it, pH is the number one factor when you're watering your plants. Luckily, I live in the Ozark Mountains where everything I've got a well. It's limestone filtered water, and it comes out of the ground.
Reverse
6 months.
osmosis water is one of the best waters you can use. However, it's hard to find. Walmart has it, so yeah, okay. I do not suggest. I'll say this: do not use your tap water. You, I
You don't want to filter out the fluorine and the chlorine.
right, unless you have like a filter, like a water filter that's capable of producing several gallons, before you need to change it. I would not use tap water because they put so many chemicals and chlorine. It's just really bad for your
Chlorine and
plants.
fluorine are the big ones.
It chokes
Chlorine and
your
fluorine.
plants out and it stops growth. It's bleach.
Basically, yeah. And like I said, when we're talking about plants, they're living and dying on a micro level. So everybody's always like, "Oh, there's not enough chlorine in water to affect." But yeah, there it is when
Oh,
you're
there
living
is.
on a micro level. You know,
Yep. The water I use comes from a natural spring that's like 10 minutes away from me, and it's 6.5 every. That's what it's at. The
yeah.
whole spring. My
When
plants
you use
love it.
the nutrients, you're going to want it to try to be as neutral as you can. So you're going to want to keep everything right around 6.5, 6.6. Um, yeah,
Alkaline.
absolutely. If it's too acidic, yes, you're going to want to use. But
That'll calm
there
it
are
down.
buffers. Baking soda is a buffer. Yeah,
Natural spring water is the best to use because there's zero chemicals and it's pH between 6.5 and 7.5.
uh,
Uh, You
citric
know,
citric acid is a buffer. It will bring it down.
yeah, test
Citric
it.
acid is natural, so you don't have to worry about using it. Most of your pH down will be citric acid, right off the shelf. Even the pool stuff. If you'll go read it, even the pool chemicals, it says pH down. It's just organic citric acid is all it is. Um, you can also the same thing with pH up is usually just baking soda or something weird like that. Yeah, but check it out. Yeah, getting test strips, getting a pool, get a pool chemical test set. Or the little dippy strippies. You dip them in and you hold them up.
Flushing your plants is important because, like, at the end of your grow, like I would say, so I did mine like a little early, and I probably shouldn't have, but I did actually in that last flush. In the last flush that I did, the buds almost doubled in size. I will say.
Mhm,
Um, it's flushing the nutrients out of your soil.
mhm.
So you want to just put plain water in there, and you're flushing the plant, you're flushing the dirt.
Yeah, if technically if you're
No,
using a living soil like I use, you don't really need to do that. But if you're using chemicals, any kind of a line, yes, absolutely flush your plants. Absolutely. Um, there'll be little bits of your nutrients stuck to those plant roots and stuck to the soil within the plant roots. Sometimes, it's almost 4:20, y'all.
yeah,
Ruh,
we're gonna
ruh.
play a song. We're gonna play a song called it's by a band called Clan, and the song is called Letter. We're gonna check it.
All the memories that you sent through me, I get high. Remember how good you feel.
Wake and bake, I sit sip my coffee, twisting herb, that's my hobby. Can I kick it? Can I party? Me and my natives get it started. Touchdown switch, I hit the target. Carving, sewing, painting, drawing. Make this money, split them profits. What I do, I know she wants it. Live my life, they reading comments. Moving silent, stacking comments. Numbers talking, I know they watching. I stay dreaming while I'm conscious. Seal for drip with the otter. Rose gold chain with the copper. Ravens, eagles, cling it hotter. Whales and wolves is wild style.
I got a letter that was sent from me. I get high. It always feels good to be. I got a letter that was sent from me. I get high. It always feels good to be.
Hey, hit or miss, this my hobby, smoking choke, this that chronic, wish you could be in this party, all my natives getting started, I stay woke, like the prophet, spoken word, let's see who follows, clink at Haida, who could've thought though, like who would've thought though, I'm that native, really rep it, we go big, this ain't Texas, check the rap, she ask who next is, Grizz and native stay invested, fishing moose, we stay ingested, manifest without a question, changing life around the nations, through our music, through our message, I'm that native, sip my coffee, all the haters get up off me, life is sweet, just like toffee, can I kick it, can I party, I'ma do me, that's regardless, see the hats and leather boots, see the trees and spruce roots, check our names, we chiefs too.
I got a letter that was sent from me. I get high. It always feels good to be. I got a letter that was sent from me. I get high. It always feels good to be.
All right, Clan.
That was a good song.
All right, happy 420, yo. All right, but yeah, we were
Clan
talking
joins
about
the Hippie and Friends on March 20th in the green room at the 8 o'clock, right?
that's what, 3 more weeks, 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks.
8 p.m., correct? Or is that going to be like a... Anyway, let's... Well, we're talking about nutrients and earthworm
we were talking about
castings and
flushing. We're talking about flushing and
flushing.
nutrients.
Yep.
Personally, when I grow indoors and I have to, if I use a nutrient lineup or a system, I'll usually use a flushing agent. There's one, I'm not hyping anything up for anyone, but personally, what I personally use, there's a product called Bush Doctor. It's basically
Room
extract
temp.
of yucca plant. Is what it is.
I keep my nutrients in my grow tent so they're the same temperature as my grow tent, and you're not, because if you put cold water, even put your water in there, because if you put cold water, you're gonna shock it, because that soil is a certain temperature. You want it to stay that certain temperature.
Mm-hmm.
So put your water and your nutrients in your grow tent or your grow room, wherever you're growing. If it's outside, keep it in your garage. You grow yucca plants?
Yeah, there's an extract that comes from a yucca plant, and basically what it is, when you're giving your plant nutrients or a nutrient lineup, if you've ever used grow bags, you can see this a lot. If you ever use smart pots or anything like that, the cloth bags, about halfway, 3/4 of the way through your grow, you start seeing this white ring start to appear on the outside of your bag. Okay,
Nutrients.
those are yeah, nutrient and
Yep.
salt buildup. Those are salts buildup. Okay, all of your nutrients when you give nutrient lines will have salts of some sort or sulfurs or magnesium. All those that white, is that's an excess buildup. That's what the plant's not using, and the same thing happens on the roots. Okay, whatever reason, this yucca extract will go through there, and it's a releaser. Basically, it makes the salt and those minerals turn loose. It makes it let go, and then you use regular water to flush it out. I'll usually give it a shot of yucca juice and let it soak in, and then the next day I'll go in and pour 2 gallons of water through it. And then I'll pull all that water off and go pitch it outside. Don't let it reabsorb. You want to get rid of that water. And you do that 2 or 3 days, 4 days in a row, 5 days in a row, up to a week before your harvest. You'll thank yourself. You're gonna have some smooth tasting, good smoking weed.
To transition your nutrients between veg and flower, there's certain nutrients you give it during veg and certain nutrients you give it during flower. Unless you're making your own nutrients, then you're not really using anything that's gonna. You just give it the same nutrients the whole grow if you're making your own nutrients. There is things you can do that I've read about. And I'm gonna ask Mucho because I can't 100% remember what you're supposed to use when you want to get giant buds. You want to take that over, Mucho? Big
You want
colas,
giant
baby,
buds?
big colas.
Big giant cola. Well, it's really all about genetics, and strain that you don't be growing some sativa expecting a damn, a cola bud the size of your forearm. It's
Yeah,
not gonna
that won't happen.
not gonna happen. So if you're wanting big giant cola bud, you look maybe towards indica or a hybrid. Um, but basically, when it's starting to transition, when you're starting to see the first signs of flowering on your plant, um, you're basically gonna in indoor growing, indoor feeding is so easy because it's regimented. Okay, it's so regimented. Uh, Basically, if you're on an 18-hour light cycle in your veg, um, CO2 bags. We'll talk about that here in a second. Uh, Basically, if you're in the middle of or you're towards the end of your veg and you're fixing to start into your flowering cycle, uh, cut back on your growing nutrients and start giving it a shot of its flowering nutrients. It's kind of like a transition. It's like weaning it off of this and getting it onto that. Okay, so you're going to use less of this and a little bit of that until you get it switched over to the flowering. And I only usually do that maybe one feeding, maybe two feeding, and then it's on to the real flowering food. What are some signs of nutrient deficiencies? Oh
Browning
my.
leaves, drooping.
There could
Um,
be
there's so many.
if
There-
if your plant does not look 100% healthy, if your plant does not look like Superman, it's sitting there or Superwoman rather. Uh, if it's sitting there and it's looking sad in one way, shape, or form, it's telling you directly, it's screaming at you that I've got a problem and you need to fix it. Okay, and it's up to you to figure it out. I highly recommend, we've talked about this before, getting yourself a grow Bible, okay, a cannabis grow Bible. Um, they will have sections on troubleshooting the plants. It's the only way a plant can talk to you is through sight, okay. And if you got leaves and you've got little tiny little specks starting to come up on the leaves everywhere, and it's looking weird, and it's like, luckily, I know that means you've got a phosphorus problem or a magnesium problem, rather, and that's why they make CalMag. You know, you walk in, you won't see all these nutrient lines. Oh, this is CalMag. This is that. Well, there's a reason because they start running out of their nutrients, their micronutrients. And that's how they tell you is through the leaves. Like it starts turning brown or yellowing up, you know, from the tips in. It needs nitrogen because it's using up all the nitrogen it can out of this leaf. You know, you should be giving it enough nitrogen that the plant is making leaves to store nitrogen, to store energy. You know,
That's where the
all
bat guano and seabird guano comes in as the nitrogen for the
yes.
nitrogen. They produce both of those produce nitrogen.
So yes. What are chelated nutrients and are they better? Yes. I'm gonna have to always get so confused. Chelated. I know.
I don't know nothing about those.
The chelated and the non-chelated basically is how is if it's ready to use or if it's not ready to use.
Oh yes, we did talk about this. I remember
We
this.
have talked about that. Uh, um, the chelated, I believe your plants can use readily. Uh, the non-chelated are still in a solid form, basically in situ, in the soil. It's in a form that the plant cannot use. Period. That's where the mycorrhiza and the fungi come in because that is a form that they can use. Oh, let me tell you about mycorrhiza too. When you put it in the soil and you put it on your roots, okay, what it is mycorrhiza is a fungus or is like mushroom spore. The white part of the mushroom that lives underneath the ground, that's mycorrhiza. It is a living system. And you want to get real deep with it. 500 million years ago, the very first plants didn't live on Earth. They didn't live on terra firma. They lived in the soil. They were algae, and all they could do was get nutrients from the water. Okay, and that's why plants are able to be grown hydroponically. Okay, well, when the plant decided that it wanted to start living on the earth, it couldn't. It would grow right up to the edge of the water, but it couldn't. Well, it formed this symbiotic relationship with uh, mycorrhiza or mycelium, and because the mycelium is able to break down and use micronutrients, therefore, when it formed a symbiotic relationship with the algae was able to start living on the ground. Very cool. They've been doing that ever since. It's been 500 million years. And if you if you keep that cycle going, then all of the chelated nutrients that you put in there will be eaten by that mycelium. And then the mycelium will be eaten by the nematodes and the bugs. And then they poop that out, and your plant will in turn eat that. Okay. And when the mycelium, when it grows to your root, it will actually grow inside your root. It will actually grow into it. Okay. And they become as one. And what the mycelium get out of the relationship is they get sugar from the plant and they get photosynthesis from the plant. And when your plant is doing its like a plant breathes in carbon, right? Carbon dioxide. It's where all the pollution goes. You know, that's why they say we need trees. We need trees for oxygen. We do. Because those plants, what the plant's doing is it's taking in all the bad stuff and it's sending down to the roots. And guess what? The mycelium and the mycorrhiza love that shit. They love it, and they eat it. They get it from the host plant and they eat it, and it stores all that carbon underground. So that's how and where the carbon goes. Okay, and then along come the bugs. The bugs eat all that, and they poop it out, and the plant eats it, and it's a cycle. It's a cycle. So it's very fascinating. I love it. I love the biology of it. When you start to think about the how everything means something, it's really fascinating to me, anyway.
It is
Well,
fascinating, yes. Um,
well, can
over
overfeeding harm yield? Yes, it can. Uh,
Yeah, if you give it too much, you can give it nutrient burn, which actually damages your yield.
you'll also get a thing that's called nutrient lock.
Yep, locks up your roots. They won't suck
Yep.
up any more nutrients.
Only way to get around nutrient lock is to pull that plant and put it on a little, give it a big drain pan underneath it and set it up on a couple of bricks and start pouring gallons and gallons and gallons of water through it and take that water away and dump it out in your yard. That's the only
Yep.
way. You got to flush that plant to get rid of nutrient lock. And it's easy to happen too. It's easy to happen.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about last year. It's part of the reason why I stopped feeding. I stopped feeding kind of early, like 2 months before I harvested.
Properly. Okay. Liquid newts. I usually try to keep them. It will say right on the bottle. It'll tell you just how to do it. Store in a cool, dark place. I usually try to keep it like under the kitchen sink type area where it's going to be dark and cool. You know what I mean?
I
That's
put mine in my grow tent last year, and they were fine.
mhm.
I mean,
There you go.
it wasn't super hot in there. It was only like 75, 80 degrees most days. You know.
Mhm. About the only liquid anything that I use that I don't make myself, and you could take this to the bank. Every person I've told this has looked at me and been like, "Really?" And I've been like, "Yeah, really." Alaska fish food. You can get it at Walmart. The Alaska brand, the emulsified fish is absolutely fire. Absolutely fire when
That's
it comes
loaded with fish oils and all that's the urine, the poop, the
everything.
stuff
It's an
from the
emulsified fish.
bones.
And it's a little bit stinky, but that means it's good. That means it's good. That
That
means it's
means it's
real
good. Yeah,
good. Your plants, they'll jump out of their containers if you give that, especially if you're growing outside. Yeah. Yeah. I used to use it indoors as well. I mean, that's why you got a vent fan. I was pumping it all outside. But yeah.
I don't have that right now. Mine's pumping in my house.
What's the difference between soil nutrients and hydroponic nutrients? The amount you give it, that's the difference.
All the
Um,
nutrients are pretty much the same. They don't have special nutrients for hydroponics. I'm sure there's a company out there that does make them that says, "Hey, this works amazing." That doesn't mean it's
Generally,
going to work for
the
you.
amount you use.
Yeah.
On the bottle or the whatever, they're like, okay, if you're using it in container beds, give it 2 tablespoons per gallon. If you're using it in a hydroponic, give it a half a teaspoon per gallon.
Nah, I haven't noticed different strains needing different nutrient plans. I had
Um,
3 different kinds of plants growing last year, and I gave them all the same thing. And some of them loved it. Like my 2 photos I had, they loved what I did. Like, and they even broke. Like one of them, like it got so big and went like this, and it spread out like,
mhm.
and it like the branches broke. But then I
I,
got giant bud. But then all the buds got giant.
I've ran across a couple of strains throughout the years. Mendocino Perps absolutely comes to mind. Uh, it was a handful. There are some strains that are very, very picky, sensitive. Oh my God, sensitive. You know what I mean? It's like the water was too cold. There was a little too much of this, a little too much of that, and shit'll get wilty. It'll go, and that's where if you go start perusing seeds at seed banks and this that, and the other, generally it'll be like, okay, this is not for beginners. This is an advanced level grower. This plant is very finicky. That's particular. I try to stay away from those because it is such a pain in the ass. Because if you get one plant that's not feeling good and is weak and susceptible, that's inviting trouble into your entire grow. Okay. One weak plant means bugs will attack it. Molds, mildews, everything will attack that weak plant. And then once you have it in your grow room, you got it. Period.
Yep.
You got it. You
Yeah,
know,
it's all there.
until it's harvest time, then you can completely sanitize your grow room again. But yeah, that's the importance of trying to keep a really good, healthy plant going. How can you
You
use
have
compost? Ooh. Well, I generally make a compost tea once a week. I'll bubble it, I'll aerate it. It's just a regular old go to Walmart, a $2 little stone, and a $5 little air pumper for the smallest aquarium. I mean, put that in a 5-gallon bucket. You put your nutrients, your guanos, your castings, put them in a 5-gallon bucket, give it a couple of gallons of water, bubble it overnight, and that's all I do. Literally, that's all I do. I'll make some videos. Maybe one of these mornings, when it gets warm, we'll go out and mix some nutrients. But I'll show you just how easy it's harder to think about it than it is to actually do it. It sounds harder than it is, but it's very easy to make compost tea. What role do amino acids play in it? Don't eat the brown acid, man. Yeah,
don't eat the brown acid.
yeah. Like I said, it's an important part of your. It's like your body. Your body needs amino acids. Uh, it's a building block of life. It enables myself and plants and everyone else to use nutrients properly. It's part of the cycle of life. It's a byproduct of good nutrition. It's a byproduct of healthy soil. Can my plants overdose on love and nutrients at the same time? No, you can never overdose your plants on love, but nutrients, yes.
Always tell them they're beautiful.
Yes. Yeah. 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 When all else fails, follow the directions on the bottle. And that's the first thing I usually ask people when they start asking me about the, hey, I bought some blah blah blah. What do I do? I was like, well, did you read the bottle? It's read the bottle. Watch a video. Go on YouTube, watch a video. All of these nutrient lines will have some very nice, well-produced videos to go right along with their lineup. If Minsky runs overfeed in their plant pepto. Yep. Water. Like I said before, put a big container under them, put a couple of bricks under them, run 2 or 3 gallons of water through it, let it all drain out, put the plant back in where it goes, and go dump all that water out. That's all you can do. I remember one time when I first started doing deep water culture, going the buckets with the bubbler in the bottom and all that good stuff. Water pH is here. I was getting ready to get to that. But oh shit, yeah. Where are we going? I accidentally dropped a gummy in the nutrient water. Ooh, well, I don't know. I've never done that.
Me neither.
But I basically killed a plant once because I put nutrients in through the hypercore instead of opening up the bucket and putting it in the water. I poured it in through the hypercore through the top, and it just
Oh no.
that plant up.
I don't know much about hydroponics growing, but I know that's not
CO2.
good.
All right, circling back to CO2, Granny. Personally, I've never used it. I've known growers that have used it. Yes, it will give your plants bigger buds. It makes fatter buds because basically CO2 is like we were talking about earlier when the plant, that's what it breathes is CO2. and it takes it in and it puts it down into the roots and it shares the CO2 with the mycorrhiza and da 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 da. Healthy soil, yeah, yeah. Okay, what the plant gets back from the mycorrhiza is the nutrients to make those buds big and huge. So basically, if you're using CO2, you're feeding the roots of your plant, you're feeding the mycorrhiza like a buffet, like a 24-hour buffet, where it's like it is as much as they can eat all the time. Yes, there is an absolute saturation limit. Why people run these insanely high numbers? You know, I was in my grow room and I have so much, I almost passed out. It's like, it's too much. It's same thing with your plant. Your plant will suffer from that too. There can be too much. But yes, it does absolutely work. But no, I have never used it. I've never been comfortable with using it. I find just giving it, I find that giving it like kelp during the flowering cycle, kelp the liquid kelp juice, and I mean it's only like a couple of teaspoons in your water. It's a stimulator for your bud. They get just you can drive nails with these buds. They just get dense, rock hard, dense buds. And it's all about the devil's in the details. You can pump it up with CO2, but you can also, on the other hand, you can give it a little bit of kelp juice, you can give it a little bit of earthworm casting, and it'll go, through the roof. No, I would not recommend that. I would not recommend that. There's no telling what you're picking up off the floor. There could be spores. There could be something that you've walked in with your feet that could be on the floor. I would wipe it up and take it outside and clean my rag out, or put the whatever's in a 5-gallon bucket and make a little nutrient solution. Go throw it on your flowers outside. That's what I would do.
A good thing, what I would say, to water with, is if you have a fish tank. If you have a fish tank, when you clean that fish tank, use that water, as long as you're not putting chemicals in your water, like. But yeah, because that's got all your stuff in it. They're pooping it all out in that water.
I've got ducks, and I've got a little duck pond. It's a little kiddie pool.
Yeah, that stuff probably works amazing.
That stuff is fire. I mean,
yeah, I bet.
Yeah, duck pond water. If you got ducks, yeah, save your duck pond water before you throw it out. Just give it a good swirl to where it's all. Oh yeah, take a 5-gallon bucket. Just your garden will love you.
Your weed's already vegan, bro. It's a plant.
Yeah, if you use
plant based.
Yeah, your plants will start wearing patchouli and they'll get dreadlocks. This. Yeah. You want your plants to be vegan. You absolutely do, because inevitably you're putting this into your body, and and that's the bottom line. What are you comfortable with putting in your body? That's why I switched to all organics. That's why I use a living soil. At the end of the day, it's going into my lungs and it's going into my blood system. So it's good to know what you're putting in there.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Holy smokes, we've already blew through an hour, you guys. Look at that.
10 minutes. We got 10 more minutes.
Wow.
But yeah, like he said, if you got ducks, that water that they're pooping in, it's good water, because they're eating bugs. They're getting the nutrients from the bugs, like chickens.
Oh, my ducks, they'll run around. They'll eat grass. They'll eat bugs. They'll eat corn. That's their man. I eat corn every morning. But alfalfa pellets. Oh, you guys, hey, if you got alfalfa pellets, you can go to the store and buy yourself some 100% organic alfalfa pellets and mix that into your soil. Boom, that is a heavy duty nitrogen, slow release nitrogen. The shit works great. Bro, if I give them 2 weeks. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Harvest time. Now you're talking about the part I don't really care for. I love growing it, but man, sitting around trimming it all the time. Well,
I
Jimmy
didn't have that
remembers last
much.
year. I would sit there. I'd do my live morning shows over on Favorite. And I'd sit there for weeks. I was sitting there trimming weed, just sitting there trimming weed for weeks.
Have a bottle of alcohol and some paper towels around because you're gonna need it to clean your trimmers.
Yep. Look, got mine sitting right here by my chair. Look at that.
Yeah, I got mine in my closet over there.
You see that black? You can probably roll that up and smoke it.
You probably could and scrape it right off. It's all hash.
Yeah.
It's all hash at this point.
Should I use nutrients every time I water? No, you probably should not. I try not to. I try to give nutrients once a week,
That's why
and
I try to
then
water once a week.
in the middle of the week, if it needs a drink, I'll give it a little drink, and just to make myself feel better, I'll put like a tablespoon or a little like a half a teaspoon of like kelp extract in there to make myself feel better. It is so far down. If you read the NPK on the kelp extract, it's like the nitrogen is like 0.001. The phosphorus, is like 0.050. It's all like trace levels, but the micronutrients you're getting in there is off the chart. The copper, the magnesium, all of the micronutrients that plant needs is in that. So that's generally what I give in the midweek watering. If it just needs a drink, I'll give it a little bit of that, and that's it. Otherwise, it just gets water. Once again, the leaves will tell you. The leaves will tell you. The plant will
I'm
tell.
about to water mine today. I
Ask
might
Jimmy.
make
The
it.
plant will tell you.
Oh yeah, it'll tell you.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Once again,
Listen, I forgot to water. Okay. When I traveled last year, listen to this. I was growing 6 plants. So the 6 plants that I had in there, I forgot to water them. And she opened the tent and was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like she thought they were dead. Like the one actually, like it was a couple days, like it was like 2 days after I left. I told her I was like, I forgot to water them. So they got neglected for 2 days, and they looked like they were gonna die. So like one of them actually like had a hard time coming back. Like I had to keep trimming leaves off. Like it kept losing leaves, and I was like, dude, I don't know if it's gonna make it. But that one produced really good buds. Like after that, like when I brought it back, like it produced amazing size. But like for me anyway, for the first grow, I was like, dude, these buds are gorgeous, So yes, your plant will tell you when it needs something, 100%.
it'll tell you if it's getting too much or too little of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It'll get droopy if you water it too much. It'll get droopy if you don't water it enough. If I'm vibing at 420 ppm. The plants.
Probably so.
Yeah.
I know the way you vibe.
But
Your
yeah,
vibe.
it's your plants will absolutely tell you what they need and when they need it.
Yes. Yeah. And like I said,
Usually in a gallon of water. Go ahead.
the longer you grow, the more that these things will just stick right out to you. It's like, oh shit, I've given it too much water. Oh look, I need to give it more water. It'll stick out like a sore thumb. It'll be blatantly obvious to you the longer you do it.
Yeah, you could say that. You could say that, yeah. That's why you don't want to give it too much nutrients. Usually in a
Yeah.
gallon of water, for 1 gallon of water, I do a little over. I do 3 caps of each nutrient that I use. It says if you want to feed it heavily, you want to give it 4. If you want to feed it moderate, give it 2. So that's why I give it 3.
Yeah, yeah, doing the detail. No, but I do suggest, if at all possible, once you've reached your last day, when you're like, okay, it's harvest day, it's harvest time. Don't just go in there with guns ablazing, and your knife and you're whacking them down and turn the lights off and leave them in the dark for about 2 days. Just leave them in the dark for 2 days.
It
Complete,
helps with the curing process.
complete and total darkness. That and it puts the terps on point. It puts everything. It's like the ultimate shock for that plant, and then go in there and cut it. It is enjoying, but making breakfast for the grandkids. Oh yeah, there you go, Granny. I need to get me some breakfast. That's usually what I do right after I get done here. Is I go make myself some breakfast. So, but yeah, leave your plants sitting there in the dark for 2 days, and then go in and chop them down.
Yeah, I did that last year and it made the terps amazing.
Hmm. Yeah, there's your little pro tip for the
It help
day.
it helps with the curing process. You'll notice when you pull it out, your hairs will be more of a brown color than what they were. Like it helped the buds will actually even be, and don't give it water. Like stop the water process.
Stop everything.
Yeah, don't,
Matter of
like,
fact,
when you
I would
pull that.
recommend stop watering. You know, 3-4 days before you're getting ready to turn them lights off. Just stop watering. There's
Yeah,
no use.
if you water once a week and you're ready to you notice you're gonna be ready to harvest in another week, don't water it. If that's your water day, don't water it.
Don't
'Cause
do it.
it'll be fine. It's not gonna die.
It's not going to die. It's just going to help you out in the long. And start the big leaves may get a little droopy, but that's fine. There's more than
I cut
enough.
those off.
There's more than enough liquid in those leaves. Those big. That's why they're called water leaves. There's more than enough liquid in those leaves to keep that plant alive. And that's half the idea of it. Is you want to drain as much liquid out of that plant as you can before you chop it. That's
Yeah.
the thing.
And not the dryer, but like if stopping the water process when you cut it, if you were to water it before you cut it, it would actually take longer for it to dry and cure.
Yep, because everything will be super saturated.
Yep. So,
Yep. Yeah, I've
um,
chopped wet weed before to where it's like when you reach down there and you cut it, turn it upside down, and you'll get the little drizzle, you'll get the drops that'll come down your because the plant is like actively putting water into it. It's like holy smokes, yeah. So
I think we're about to wrap it up.
yeah, looks like we're getting on down towards the end of the show. It's been
Thanks
fun
for
this week. Yeah, like I said,
Yeah, it was bit.
I can talk nerd all day about dirt and soil. But yeah, you guys go out there. Um, you two, I would suggest because you'll learn a lot. Her name is Dr. Elaine's Soil Food Web School. Dr. Elaine's. I go to YouTube, Google Dr. Elaine's Soil Food Web School. She does all these little 5 and 10 minute videos. They're so easy to understand and they're super interesting. And everything I've talked about, she talks about on like level 20. You know, so she makes it really easy to understand. And I would highly suggest you guys invest a little time in learning about your soil and how to make your soil happy, how to make it alive, because it'll really reap benefits in the
You can
grow.
buy live soil. You can buy live soil. It's expensive.
But you can make it also.
Yes, it's cheaper to make it, and you don't need it hardly. You don't have to buy Fox Farm soil to make it either. You can just buy some organic soil. If you're making your own soil, you can just buy your own organic soil and put like earthworm castings and perlite, like
Just
stuff like
amend
that.
it, and you're off to the races.
Yep.
All right, Jimmy. Hey, I'd like to thank this week's musical guest, Clan. Well, thank you, and everyone have a great week. Happy growing, Jimmy. It was fun as always.
Yep. Yep. See you next week, Mucho. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Hippie. Thanks, THC Radio,
Yeah.
Stoner Records.
Don't do drugs, kids.